The big talk is with the national chairman of the All Progressives Congress. Welcome to Platform. We have a really special guest for you today. Is no other than the comrade governor and chairman of the All Progressive Congress, the man Adams Oshiomhole. Welcome to my show, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
You have been in the news in a very turbulent time in your political party, and when you took over, people said this man has a lot on his plate. Now, will you take us through briefly what you have done so far?
Well, thank you very much. We assumed duties on the 24th. I was sworn in on a Sunday, the 24th of June. And of course, the first challenge we had was having to manage and stabilize the party, because we were already having pockets of problems in several states across the Federation. Some of those problems predicted the conduct of world congresses, local government and state congresses across the country. Some arose from the way in which the congresses were conducted, who won, who lost. And we have many states in which people had gone to court to challenge the legality of the process that produced the world local government and state congresses. So our task immediately was to work on this. The other one was that we came in at the peak of the speculation about the plan by some members of the National Assembly and a number of persons to decamp from the All Progressive Congress to the opposition parties and reduce APC to a minority in the National Assembly. And unfortunately, this includes the leadership of the National Assembly. And I remember that the very first day, minutes after my swearing in, the Vice President and I agreed in consultation with the Senate President, Senator Saraki, that we will have a meeting that evening to begin to talk through whatever grievances he and people like him had and see how we can have them resolved. Since I was new, I was in a position to assume that I know what the issues were, even though none of them are strangers to me, in terms of the persons involved. But it soon became clear that quite a number of senators had issues. In fairness, a lot of these issues have nothing to do with the federal government. They have to do with local domestic issues in their respective states, the power blocks in each state. And because we were coming in at the eve of an election, where primaries are going to be conducted, people who are falling out of favor one way or the other with their domestic, with the various power blocks in their respective states had issues. Either that they were confident that the system will favor them, or they were so certain that no matter what they do, and even if the electorate want them, the party might deny them ticket because of the balance of forces in those states in question. So my task first was to immediately, that same week, organize meetings with the Senate caucus of the APC, APC caucus in the Senate, and APC caucus in the House of Reps, to try and give them assurances that as a political party, we will do what we have to do to ensure that people are not punished because they fell out of favor with various interests and forces in their respective states. And I think somehow, to their credit, I think they had confidence that we will be able to make a difference. First, because we are not responsible
for the difference.
For difference in terms of their fears, to address their fears convincingly. Because they have fears that if the leadership had conducted primaries in a way that has marginalized them, it is not likely that that leadership will have the confidence to help them out, and that their future in our party was already compromised. Yes. And of course, the only option available to them would be to join another party, hoping that they can get their ticket from that party. We're talking of viable political parties now. So my first step was to give that assurance and try and also recognize that you can't have a situation in which one drug cures all ailments. Each state have their own peculiarities. And it took quite a number of, some effort to be able to try to understand who is responsible for what, in which state, and who do we need to engage in that state in order to have some peace and harmony in each of those states. So while we were doing that, INEC timetable was rolled out. We had to confront the primaries. And again, I was certain that our long-term interest as political parties in Nigeria is to ensure that there is eternal democracy. It mustn't be a game of power that once you are powerful, whoever you want prevails. And no matter how popular I am as a candidate, if I fall out of favor with power that be in my state, then I will not be able to offer myself for the electorate on the platform of my party. And the only way to cure this in the long run is to have eternal democracy and also eliminate corrupt practices in the process of electing candidates. And I know from experience that when you use indirect primaries, because the candidates are already known, arising from a process that is flawed, some in court, it's possible to procure delegates. I mean, stories are all over the place about how people are being camped in one hotel or the other at the eve of indirect primaries, and how money changed, etc., etc. But I was fortunate that we have a president who also believes that the ordinary member of the party should have a say. Not just a say, he should be an active participant in the process of selection of primaries. And the only way you can involve the shop floor members is to have a direct primary such that every card-carrying member is able to and has a right to determine who fly the flag of the party. And the benefits are self-evident. If ordinary people nominate you, they are most likely going to persuade people to vote for you. If, on the other hand, they were just distant spectators or, at worst, miserable observers of a process that is highly monetized, they might choose to say, okay, if you procure the ticket, let's see how you are going to procure victory in the popular election. And so, for me, the eternal democracy within parties is extremely important. But the issue about change, which our party adopted as a slogan, is that our democracy is that it doesn't matter how convinced you are, it doesn't matter the beauty of your argument. If you put it to the appropriate organ, it is what the majority decide that prevails. So in the end, we ended up with what we might call a dual option. That, okay, if you want direct primaries, you can have it. If you want direct primaries, write to the party, get majority of your state executive to sign it and to say what your local peculiarities are, and you will be allowed to conduct indirect. So we ended up with this direct and indirect. Which to announce that I've seen people say, oh, comrades should be consistent, because they then assume that it is within the power of the chairman or the NWC to decide. No, this power in our constitution resides with the National Executive Council, of which all the governors are members, all the state chairmen are members, principal officers of the House are members, several other persons. So the NWC is a minority. So when we take the matter there, people could see the beauty of direct primary. People will root for it. But however, people have reasons to feel that in their own respective states, there could be issues. And they then voted what amount resulted in what you might call a compromise position. Give and take. Okay, you want direct primaries, you will have it. If you don't really want it, due to local peculiarities, you will do indirect. I mean, that's how far I can go. I'm not in a position to decree my will. Even if, as it is, the president was in line with my position that we should encourage direct primaries. You know, that it is always better, it's cheaper, it's more inclusive, and it gives every worker a sense of, every member a sense of belonging. But you put it to the vote, majority didn't quite think so. And so we have what we have. And I think on the whole, the important is that we started a journey, we planted a seed, which, if nurtured, we grow from strength to strength. There are a couple of lessons to be learned from those states in which we did direct primaries and see how we can further improve on it in the future. There are also a couple of lessons to learn, even where we did indirect primaries, how to ensure that even at that, we make it more participatory. On the whole, I'm satisfied with the outcome.
It is very important that you made all of these points. You've traversed so many things. It looks like it's a thing that happened over 4 or 5 years. All the things you have had to go through. But one of the significant things that happened was the fact that the principal man in the Senate, the principal man in the House of Rep, left your party, and the party moved from a position of majority to that of minority. That's what he said. Although it seems that nobody is really sure who is for APC, who is for PDP, even as of now. But what many people are seeing in this is that somehow the APC as a party has not been able to define its own soul, that people who were there before have left.
No. You see here, first, let's put the facts clear. You know, I just find that when a lie is recycled several times, some people begin to think that is the truth. Unfortunately, in this environment, even when you question that lie with compelling evidence, there are people who simply find it inconvenient to accept. Now, the issue of who is who in Parliament is not as complex to define who is who. It's not as complex as you seem to sound. Because as we speak, I can tell you, we have 57 senators. PDP has 48 senators. ABGA has, I think, 1 or 2.
Yeah.
And maybe AD or so has one. So there's no question that as we speak, APC is the dominant party in the House, in the Senate. And in the House of Reps, we have about 220 House of Rep members out of 360. The rest, 100 or something, belong to the remaining political parties. So there's no question
But you have majority without leadership.
That's what you can say. We have majority in the 2 chambers, but they are being led by minority parties. And that is the issue of morality and character, which I have raised. But, and I said so today to the American NDI and IRA who came visiting that. You know, we are having a paradox of some persons, you know, who are so determined to click to office, you know, hugging other legal technicalities as to impose a minority rule in the National Assembly. It is absolutely immoral and unethical. It violates the most basic elementary principles of democracy, which says majority must necessarily have their way, while minority must also be allowed to have their say.
But it's not
now, in the National Assembly, is now the opposite. But for me, we are not detained by this. We remain convinced that Senator Saraki will have to leave, and Dogara will also have to leave. When they leave, that is a matter for our members in the National Assembly to look at how to achieve, taking into account that the 2 institutions are governed by law. When principal officers devoid themselves of morality and hang on technicality, hopefully we are going to be able to, I believe, at some point, to meet those technical requirements. But for me now, moving forward, this is no longer a priority.
Yeah, but some people say, what is morality? That both parties are Machiavellian. APC is Machiavellian, PDP is Machiavellian. APC would have done the same thing if it was in the same position.
Well, it depends. It's easy to say it, and probably it's not too difficult to find evidence that could easily lead to that conclusion. But the truth of the matter is, I think Awolowo foresaw a situation like this when he said, for progressive to acquire power, they must necessarily go into a deal with some sections of the conservative forces, and perhaps even reactionary forces.
To dine with the devil.
But call it whatever you mean, but this way is words. But when the progressive has acquired power, in collaboration with some elements of the conservatives, that when you try to run a progressive government or a progressive party, the conservatives will on their own walk away because they can't cope. Now, Awolowo said this, God knows how many years ago, in some of his very numerous work.
Treatises, yes.
And it has come to pass
But you can only do that once. Once, and then you can't do that again. Once beaten, twice.
I don't know how many times you can do it, but I did say to my party that we can benefit from this. Because to be honest, my brother, I believe that going forward, once the electoral process is cleaned up, people are really going to associate on the basis of shared values, not on the basis of opportunism or electoral opportunism, which is currently the case. That people find themselves in a party, not because they have anything in common with those they have met there, but because they think that's the only way they can win. And sometimes, particularly under the PDP, the only currency PDP had was the fear that if you were not a PDP, then the rigging machine would be deployed against you. Now, one of the things that has to be done, and which I think is being done, is that, coming from Edo State, my first task was to mobilize Edo people to recognize that the PDP rigging machine is not invisible and that it can be attacked, and we will attack it and neutralize it. I get rid of godfathers. I return power to the ordinary people. And I came up with this slogan, let the people lead. And I hinged all my campaign around that. Because I found that the average Nigerian will say, I don't want trouble. God, these people are wicked. God will punish them. But the devil also is there. And God doesn't say we should just surrender. And from my experience, when I look back, Edo was the headquarters of
the Godfather,
the most deadliest of godfathers.
Who never
but
slept.
8 years down the road, we have succeeded in neutralizing them. And as things stands today, I handed over power, perhaps the first person in that subject, to hand over power to my own party, to show that it was not just, even though the struggle may have started with me leading, the people have bought into it, they have internalized it, and the movement has developed its own dynamics. That today, one man, one vote is a reality in Edo State. That was the only way I could have won my elections, even when PDP had the control, and a lot of the godfathers from Edo State who had full grip and control of PDP were still in power. I will prevail. So I think once going forward, the conservatives will really have to find the kind of umbrella, however tattered it is, to hang on. And the progressive will continue to sweep them away until a point that we clean up all the impurities in the system.
How will you distinguish your stewardship so far with that of your predecessor? No,
this is not a fair question. You don't ask a student to say, the previous set, I do think your set is better. I think that
no, students
I have to
say that their set is better.
Okay, I do not belong to one of those. I think that the founding chairman, Chibisi Akade, did a terrific job from ground 000, weaving together 5 political parties to form a functioning organic whole, called APC. Now, the formation, the quality of foundation you lay can be critical, because if the foundation is weak, as common sense suggests, you can't build something on nothing. And BC Akade will be credited as having laid such a solid foundation. And Oyegu came in months later to take over as chairman. And to his credit, whatever anybody wants to say, Chief Oyegu led us to victory. We won the 2015 elections under Chief Oyegu. So I believe he did his best. But like everything, there were pockets of issues over time. State chapter were having challenges here and there. There were congresses across the country that seems to have assorted a lot of the problems. But overall, I have no difficulty in saying that Oyegu did his very best.
But his very best giving you a lot of problems.
And the truth of the matter is that it is difficult to compare Sunday with Monday in a dynamic environment, because the challenges we are dealing with now as a ruling party, I guess that in conducting the primaries in 2014, the competition was not so tense, because we were still opposition party, just coming together. Not a few expressed the doubt that we might not be able to actualize the merger. And if we were in the stock market, how much was the value of our shares is arguable. But 4 years down the road, with APC effectively in control of the federal executive and producing majority of the members in the National Assembly, and 23, initially 25, but now 23 out of 36 state governors, state governments. Obviously, the party is stronger. More and more people have confidence in the party, and they believe that once you have the ticket, you win. Number three, since I assume office, because good news don't sell, and like I believe it was Ahmadu Bello who said in his book that the conventional wisdom is that you shouldn't be beating your own drums, or don't blow your own trumpet. And he said that in a world that people are increasingly greedy and self-centered, you just find that if you don't beat your own, if you don't blow your own trumpet, people are too busy blowing theirs that nobody will blow it for you. I want to say that
like the lizard
since I assume office, we haven't lost any major election, beginning with Ekiti, which came in 2 weeks after I assumed office.
And Oshun.
Then followed by Oshun, that we won. Then we have a by-election, senatorial election in Katsina State, in Daura, we won. We had a senatorial election in Bauchi, and we won. The most outstanding of all the victories, if you ask me, is the humiliating defeat of Senator Saraki in Kwara State. Because that was a shadow boxing, and it pointed to what is going to happen. Because I made this point, that if you look at the vote that makes Senator Saraki a senator in Kwara Central, he didn't win as much vote to become a senator compared to the vote won by President Muhammadu Buhari in the same senatorial zone. President Muhammadu Buhari had 10,000 more votes than Saraki in Saraki's own Senate. Which is the paradox that you got so little vote, and now you are lording it over the man who your own people prefer, even in your own senatorial zone. So for me, people don't point at it. They talk about 1 or 2 governors or 3 governors who have made some statement that suggests APC is not at peace. But look at our performance. The child is said to be a sickler. It's always from one hospital to the other. But on examination day, he passed his papers. What do you want? I think that everything considered, we've done well, and we can only do better. And that has again raised the stakes. Why more and more people would rather stay in APC? For me, even more interesting is the fact that those who left us because they thought that PDP, having been beaten and severely weakened, that their presidential ticket will just be there, and they went into all kinds of negotiations, all kinds of deals. Each person believing that his own deal is the genuine one. All those key figures that left us to join PDP, look at how miserably they performed. They suddenly find that PDP is not about ideas. It's about the depth of your pocket. So if you were going to offer $2,000 per ticket, and then one big man bring out $6,000, $10,000 per ticket, you just find out your calculations goes under. And it doesn't matter the power of the governor or governors backing you. If that power, political power, is not reinforced with the Greek currency in the PDP system, it just doesn't work. And so they had a presidential outcome which they didn't bargain for. And as you can see, they tried to go around. They found that they don't have crowd. They went to Kwara. It was a huge embarrassment. They now retreat from doing rally to doing town halls. Because it's easy to fill up a room, call it a town hall meeting, than to get people to go to stadium and show the number. Okay. But fortunately, this game is about numbers.
Now, let's look at the primaries. There have been some very contentious states, Ogun, for instance. What would you say about that? And what is going on with a party person, a governor in the person of Amosun, who is saying, I would campaign for the president in my state, but for the governorship, I will campaign against the party's nominee.
Well, I think so that we are not selective. I think we have the same situation in Imo State.
In Imo State, I was going there.
Imo State Governor Rochas has said the same thing.
Zamfara.
And Zamfara, not yet exactly the same.
Yeah, but
in the sense that the favored governor of the favored aspirant of Governor Yari
Yes.
has not decamped, so
there's
it's not exactly the same.
But there's still tension.
Yeah, of course there's tension. There has always been tension, and there will always be tension in politics. But to be honest, I really don't think it is helpful at this stage to continue to discuss what we must now reduce to local, eternal family issues. I have a responsibility as chairman not to carry our, as I say, wash our linens in the wrong place. I think that over time, those you mentioned, we realize that it is not practicable. Our policy in the North, what they capture it very well in the North, SARC. That is from the president to the senators, to the reps, to governors, to House of Assembly, is APC. The broom sweep everything into the parliament, into the executive houses across the country. That's our message. If there is a person, including a governor, who wants to sell a distorted message, the party will stop him. And that is the truth. You are not going to be able. We have also seen some situations which we are trying to draw the attention of INEC to as the regulator of political parties. You can't have anyone putting the portrait of President Muhammadu Buhari as president, then he put his own portrait as a governor on the platform of a political party that is not known to the people and that the people don't even want, and you put the logo of your new party that is not known to anyone. You use the President Muhammadu Buhari's portrait to popularize that logo. Of course, we know that on election day, the ballot paper will not carry the president's portrait. It's going to show the party logos. And so if you use our president's name to popularize your own party logo, which will be the basis for election, that is fraud. So we will have to deal with such situations.
They could argue that they're using their own logo to popularize that of president.
No, but we don't need you. No, that is of no electoral value. That can only lead to confusion, even in an enlightened community, because the ballot paper, as I understand, will not carry the portrait of the candidates.
Now your party is getting set for a round of election next year. Buhari is on the ticket, the number of governors on the ticket. Will you deliver?
We will.
How
we will.
so?
We will, because first elections, not that we are about to start. We have already started. But what I think people are used to is the flag off rallies at the presidential level. But in many states, many state governors have already flagged off their governorship campaign. And invariably, in all such campaigns, they put the message of the president across. So it's also a campaign for the president, it's a campaign for National Assembly members, for the governors, and for the House of Assembly. So those are already going on at various levels in the states. I've attended quite a few. There are some we're not able to attend. So campaigns are already going on at every ward level, at the level of every House of Assembly constituency. Campaigns are already going on. And for us, APC all the way, what in the North they call SAC. So they are going on. I think that we have much brighter chances after the candidate of the PDP emerged. We now know who
Why do you say that?
Yeah, because he's not going to be able to ask people to give him the benefit of the doubt, because he's not a stranger to the presidency. And just listening to the debate of the vice presidential debate last week, my dear friend, Mr. Peter Obi, says that vice presidents are very important because they are actually the one coordinating the economy. So that we can as well say that Atiku Abubakar was the coordinator of the economy under Obasanjo. And they also raised issues about harmony between president and their vice president. And the nature of the relationship between Obasanjo as president and Atiku as vice president is an open secret, that the president wanted to sack his vice, and his vice took his president to court, and they were fighting in the market. There were arguments about how they use money to buy vehicle for friends from a equalization fund, you know. So all those issues are there. PTDF. And then you remember that with Atiku as vice president, coordinating the economy, and with Soludo as central bank governor, there was this promise of 7 million jobs, under a document they call needs. And I remember President Obasanjo saying that after launching the document, most Nigerians said that no, this your needs document does not meet our needs with the Nigerian people. It's history. By the time President Obasanjo left office, with Atiku as the coordinator of the economy,
we're still
as
in
the
need.
chairman of the National Council on Privatization, look at what happened to the economy. Not only did they auction public assets to friends, look at the number of industries that closed shop during that period when they promised to create jobs. Not many Nigerians remember that Michelin was a flourishing business concern in Nigeria with branches in Lagos, Port Harcourt. You had Dunlop at Ikeja producing tires of all sizes.
Yes.
And we had a number of textile mills in Ikeja, in Isolo, in Apapa, in Lagos, employing millions of workers. We had a huge industrial base in Port Harcourt in the textile sector, just limiting myself to industry in which I was a key player. And from Abba Textiles to Asaba Textiles, so going to Kano, Bombay was booming with manufacturing companies from blanket to finished fabric in Geskia Textile, Bagauda, etc. And then they move on to Sharada in Kano, all busy. You go to Gusau, Zamfara, Zaria, Kaduna, we have more than 25,000 workers employed in textile industries alone. You had
Canteen Quarry in Kano.
You name it. So it is during the administration of President Obasanjo with Atiku as the coordinator of the economy, according to Peter Obi, that superintended over the obituaries of these companies. I remember very well, I left the textile industry to become the president of the NLC. And I joined the Textile Manufacturers Associations not once or twice to appeal to the president to provide the kind of incentive the industry needed and to do a couple of things right so that we can keep jobs, particularly when you have committed yourself to creating 7 million jobs. In the end, we lost more than 7 million jobs. Now, if that same Atiku Abubakar now come around to say, I'm going to create 2 million jobs every year, he has to be able to say how. It's not about talking about China, and the way they are talking about China, it's very clear that they are going to be importing goods and services from China rather than producing goods that will compete with Chinese-made goods. And when you then look at Peter Obi's own trade, that if you go to his business shops, 90% of the goods are made in China. So you can understand the affinity and affiliation with China, which characterizes debate. I'm referring to all of the things he had to say during the debate. So I think that just looking at industrial policies alone, I do not believe that the Nigeria organized private sector will have any basis to give the benefit of the doubt to an Atiku Abubakar's presidency based on their track record. And more so now that the former president is now supporting. So it's clear that they are going to try to replicate the kind of thing they did before. And I don't think that Atiku Abubakar is going to be able to tell Nigerians that, I will give you power. Because we are going to be able to remind Nigerians that with him as vice president, they have promised Nigerians that they will restore power. In 6 months, President Obasanjo addressed the nation in which he said 6 months he will freeze power. 60 years in power, PDP could not deliver power. And they compounded the problem by auctioning in the name of privatization. They went into selling handing over the discourse to people who have neither the know-how, the competence, nor the way we thought to run those businesses on the basis of family affiliation and other primordial settlement. And today it's a huge embarrassment what to do with this kind of privatization. So are they going to call Nigerians and say, oh, don't worry, we will give you power this time around? What did Atiku know now that he didn't share as chairman of the National Economic Council right? And as a constant figure in the PDP system, you know, that he didn't do in 60 years, that he's going to be able to want to do in this community. And then the issue of character. I say this, and this is not meant to embarrass anybody, because there are also issues. We have a president that has helped us regain recognition. Talk to anybody, they'll tell you that we believe President Muhammadu Buhari is an honest man. We believe that President Muhammadu Buhari is not corrupt. Even foreigners will say so, and they do say so, and they have been saying so. It's very difficult for anybody in PDP to be so acknowledged. I haven't heard. If anything, they remain suspect. And given the volume of money that has been stolen, and look at even their campaign message, you look at their reaction, once you measure corruption, oh, they boo. Because for them, share the money is their philosophy. So I think that even at this hour when some Nigerians thought that changes will be overnight, and because once you clean up and block some of the leakages, the free money that was going around leaking to conspicuous consumption, those are just likely to take the back. I mean, there's less money obviously available for people to play with. And so I don't know what message they are going to be able to put across, given that they were in power for 16 years. And my dear friend and colleague, Secondus, unable to explain their abysmal performance and all the things that happen under their watch, thought that the best way out is not to try to defend their record in office, but to say to Nigerians, he apologized. Now, when a man mismanages your house for 60 years, and you start asking questions, all he has to say to you is, I am sorry. Are you about to return the house to him? And all the characters, all the figures are there. And lastly, there's a campaign material that one can generate from Donald Duke. He made a statement recently which was very well recorded and it's been circulated, when he said, even if he, because people ask him, why did he have to leave PDP to contest on the SDP platform? And he said, the truth is that if he were able to gain nomination of PDP as their candidate, he will not be able to perform. And they asked him why. He said, because the PDP system is driven by corruption. And he said, even Atiku must admit that he won't be able to do anything. He said, because every step you want to go, you are stepping on somebody's toes. And as you roll by, you just find yourself oscillating. This is Donald Duke. And he reminds us that he wasn't just a founding member of PDP, he was a two-time governor on PDP platform. So he has no reason to badmouth the PDP.
Where it's coming from.
You know, and nobody is going to tell me that these are no huge issues. So even as you may have issue with your new steward, it cannot be a reason for somebody to persuade you to bring back the thief of yesterday who emptied your kitchen. And I think the VP got it uppercut when Peter Obi unable to deny the level of corruption in the system. Because we were both governors. And I know his views about PDP government when he was a governor in the on the floor of the National Executive Council. And he said, should you be chasing?
He was not a PDP governor.
You know, he was ABGA at home and PDP in Abuja, this survival politics. And again, that raises issues of character. And now he says, you know, since I can't deny that there are a lot of thieves and they are in his part, and he says, but you don't want to be chasing those thieves as to leave your store open. I mean, as to you don't close your store
and let
you don't close your shop and begin to go after thieves. And the VP rightly said, okay, so you are going to leave your shop open. As thieves are going in, moving out your goods, then your whole business is to go to China to keep importing new goods, and these thieves keep on taking them away. Over time, can you sustain the business? I thought that summarizes the issue. I honestly believe that Nigerians, when they reflect deeply and everything taken into account, PDP cannot possibly be an option. For 60 years, look at in which area can they say they excel? None.
Well, it has been an interesting conversation with Adams Oshiomhole, two-term governor of Edo State, NLC president, and now two times also chairman of APC, and the beat goes on. It's been a good conversation, smart, spry, and full of vitality. Thank you very much for being on this show.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching the program today. You can catch up with my published columns and articles on my website, www.samomasheye.com. Also follow me on Twitter. My handle is @SamOmasheye. Enjoy the rest of the day and also the season. And until next time, be good.